Hello everyone. Today we are with you with the 5th session of the CODERUNNER series. Fatih.
Hello, and we're gonna talk about API Gateway today.
Yeah, today's topic is API Gateway, managing and accessing APIs using API Gateway. And so there is 1 month to start more than 1 month to start this series. It's going so fast.
Yeah, this is the 5th week actually.
Yeah, this is the 5th week, and there is approximately 6 or 7 more.
Yeah. Total of 20.
Yeah. So let's start.
Oh, by the way, don't forget that.
Okay, let me change the scene. Yeah, you're seeing the presentation. And we all have a lot of APIs. We all have a lot of separate APIs as a .NET developers. We write a lot of clients like Android or iPhone apps, mobile apps, or web clients, or some other clients, and we use as backend services our APIs.
Yeah, we are living in an API world right now actually.
Good point. And we use, for example, in PeakUp, .NET Web API, ASP.NET Web API. Mostly. And what else we use? What can you say?
I guess
we write some nodes.
Yeah, Node.js APIs. Some of them are Node.js. Some of them uses Python. But mostly, we use ASP.NET Web API.
And so we have a lot of separate APIs and maybe separate subscriptions and maybe separate deployed in a separate server. So today's topic: how to manage them. How to manage in a one package. So today's agenda is how to use API Gateway, introduction to API Gateway, and how can we get benefits of this service in AWS. And there is an API call flow in API Gateway, so we're going to have a look to this flow and try to understand how it's working. And after that, before demo, we want to start you to how to configure API Gateway, how to deploy API Gateway, and then how to monitor it, and some other settings like caching, throttling, and etc. And the last one, we finished with the demo as usual. So if we say something to API Gateway, and it is create a unified API front end for our backend service, multiple microservices. We have APIs or functions, Lambda functions as our backend services. And if we think about that, we create a package and put all our API in that package, and then manage them, monitor them, limit them. So API Gateway does this kind of things for us. And if we want, we can create and distribute API keys for our APIs. And when we write fast API without any authentication mechanism, API Gateway provides us this authentication mechanism also, authorization mechanism also. And by the way, we can prevent some attacks using this API Gateway.
Like DDoS or something else.
And we can use, as I said, AWS Lambda. And by the way, it doesn't have to be in AWS in your API. You can write your API in a local server or other cloud providers.
It's just the unified API methodology actually. You have a couple of API, maybe in your for your sales API, for your maybe development
application.
That way, with the API gateway, you can unify them and throttle if you want, and the request count actually throttle.
And
that's it.
And you can add headers to as an authorization header using that API gateway also. And what kind of benefits that we can talk about the API gateway? And if you write your code in your backend service without any caching mechanism, but you need some performance improvements and try to find a cache solution, API gateway, you can use the API gateway for this purpose. And it doesn't use any other service, it just caches the result of the API, return of the API, and then without accessing the real-time API, you can just return the cached result to the client. So this is one of the benefits of the API gateway. And we can reduce the latency using Amazon CloudFront. It's another platform services. When we publish our API gateway, we can choose the region or the edge optimized or
VPC
or behind the virtual private network. So when we choose to choose any region and put in front of a traffic manager in the API gateway, we can manage the requests and navigate it the nearest location, nearest region in AWS. So using API gateway, you can reduce your latency, and as I said, you can add an extra protection for DDoS attacks or something else. And you write your APIs, and when you want to distribute an SDK to the client's developers, and API gateway offers you to create an SDK, and there are some platforms supported, including iOS client, Android client, Java client, Python client, and JavaScript client. And so you shouldn't have to just give URLs and parameters. You have to. You can prepare very quickly an SDK and give it to the other client.
That's actually a huge pain point for the API developers a lot of the time. And it's great that API gateway provides.
We use Postman for creating a catalog for our APIs in our company. And sometimes we create SDKs. By the way, we talked today. We can use Swagger to create the other platforms SDKs. But using API gateway, you can create easily SDKs for other developers or other parties. There is a Swagger support. You can import or export Swagger definition to create an API in API gateway. And there is an abstraction. The API gateway provides us an abstraction level for our backend implementation, and the managing it gives us a managing layer. And so let's jump to the API call flow. The left side, we have mobile apps, we have some some services, some websites, some maybe software as a service SaaS applications, and you try to access your application via internet, HTTP request, and when we put API gateway on the on a middle layer as an abstraction, your requests first served by first
to the API gateway.
To the API gateway. Reach the API gateway.
Yeah.
So API gateway, look at the URL and understand which requests is coming from, which request is coming from, and then if there is a cache layer, it returns the result directly. And by the way, if we activate the monitoring feature in AWS using Amazon CloudWatch, it logs the access data to the CloudWatch.
I guess how the request totaled in seconds, milliseconds, and all of that.
And after that, API gateway navigates to the real backend services. So there is an abstraction layer in the middle with the API gateway. And this backend services can be an AWS Lambda function, or can be an other public accessible endpoint. For example, if you have on your API in your local server, you can access via API gateway. And the other endpoints in AWS, like if you publish an API project in EC2, you can access them using via API gateway, or maybe Beanstalk. And we see this API configuration when we create an API in API gateway. API gateway consists of a lot of APIs. So we can create one API and then configure them, and then publish, deploy them, and then you can use the API gateway in this path.
And the endpoints in it, actually.
Yeah, you can define your resources, what kind of resource you use it. Is it a Lambda function? Is it a public URL, or is it a EC2 API? And after that, you define your methods for these resources. You can set your methods like post, get, put, patch, etc. And you can add this HTTP verbs. So you see a path store, and /paths is a collection, and the path ID is a specific path item in this collection. And you can get a path, you can post a path, or you can put a path. So API configuration consists of is a kind of collection which consists of a lot of APIs. By the way, we will show you in our demo how to create an API and define resources and configure it.
And hook that at an AWS Lambda function.
After you create your API in AWS console, from AWS console, you should deploy it to use from your client. Your API configuration can be deployed as stage. What is stage? For our team, our stages are development, test, and production. For example, we have 3 stages, and you should create the stages in API, which is created in the API gateway, and you should deploy your API in the stage. So if you finish a development cycle, if you finish a sprint and then you want to publish your API, you first publish it in a development stage. After some tests in our development team or your lead, you can publish it to the deploy it to the beta or test stage, and after detailed investigated, investigation, you can publish it to the prod stage. So you can just give the backend services or give the clients your prod stage URL. So using API Gateway, you can create this kind of dev, beta, or prod processes.
Manage the development processes.
Yeah. And you can create a new version of your current API. So if you don't have any complexity in your backend service for the versioning of your APIs, you can use API Gateway to create new versions of your API. For this purpose, you should clone your current API as a new API and then give it another name, different name from the current one.
Make the necessary changes in it.
And then you can deploy it. And by the way, API Gateway and keep a history of our deployments, so we can turn back previous deployments in a few just clicks.
Okay.
And by the way, after you can set custom domain names from maybe another platform's services settings. You can set a custom domain to your API in API Gateway. I'm going to show you in our demo where can you do that, and you can point this custom name. For example, your development stage, test stage, or your production stage.
The actually stages works in the custom domain too, so you can reach them through the named stages. Beta and prod is given here. I guess so.
Yeah, and then by the way, you can provide your HTTPS certificate to API Gateway, and you can use it. You can provide your clients to consume your API as a secure.
And by the way, you don't have to do this. API Gateway generates a URL for you to use, but if you want to do that, give it a custom domain.
Yeah, you don't have to.
That.
Good. And we can create an authorization layer if we need. We can create an API key and distribute our SDKs or APIs using API keys. And we can set some permissions level in this API and stage level. And by the way, you gave this keys, and then you can monitor it. How much they access this using this API key, and you can monitor it using Amazon CloudWatch.
Yeah, that's a lot of work if you are you want to do that by yourself. But API Gateway just gives that comfort.
Yeah, so it shortens the development time. If you want more complexity, or if you want more control on your APIs. So API Gateway prevents you to consume much more time from you. And there's another feature named API throttling. And using API throttling, you can limit your requests from your clients. And for example, you can limit your request from the dev stage in a day, for example. And you can set the HTTP response for 29, and the client understands that I reached the limits.
Too many requests.
Yeah, and the generated SDKs also can take these results. So it's a very good feature, I think. We use this kind of
limitation
for our both
customers
attacks and more control over our APIs.
Yes.
Yeah, we can manage our traffic.
But
so, the another one, API caching. I mentioned it in the beginning of the presentation. We can use API caching between 500 megabytes and 237 gigabytes, and
that's a lot of data.
yeah, that's a lot of data. And by the way, we have to say at this note, API gate, you can use free tier API gateway, and you can manage lots of API in this service. But when you use when you decide to use API caching, you should go out of the free tier and you should pay. You should go to free pricing tier. Choose a pricing tier, and when you choose your cache quantity between this limits, and your pricing details is determined. So it's also changed. And this cache is dedicated by stage. So you can you don't want to use cache in development stage, but you want to use cache in production. So API Gateway allows us to choose stage to use this caching mechanism, and it provides us faster response time. So we need it. It's good to use API caching feature in API Gateway without setting up another platform services or any other solution.
Yeah, Redis or something else.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the last feature that we are going to talk about today, SDK generation. SDKs are generated again based on API states. I can choose the production stage, and I want to create a JavaScript SDK for any specific stage. And the request response models are defined. Input and output are defined in our methods, and SDKs, by the way, know how to handle the throttling responses. And as I mentioned, it supports Android, iOS, Java, JavaScript, and Ruby. And it's a great feature. So the best time in the session, demo. Let's jump into the demo.
It's demo time.
Yeah. In our demo, we call a Lambda function using an API gateway. And then I try to show you the other feature in the AWS console.
API keys, throttling, and caching maybe.
Custom domains, etc. So, first of all, we're going to start creating a Lambda function. It will be a basic one. I just give you an input string and return it, adding another string. And after that, we're gonna publish it in AWS Lambda services. And after that, we will show you how to call this Lambda function in API Gateway. So let's create a new project, and in AWS Lambda, on the left, AWS Lambda project. Let's choose the latest framework that we have on our Visual Studio 2017, and I choose AWS Lambda project.NET Core, and I named my project Lambda Sample, AWS Lambda Sample, and let's create it. I choose empty function and finish it. If you want to learn more about Lambda function, you can watch one of our previous sessions. You can find it in our playlist in YouTube. So there will be a CS file that I can define my method function. By the way, we should use the AWS Explorer. Just have a look at the profile name and region. My profile name is default. It uses IAM user behind this profile, and there's a access key and secret key that we took from the AWS console before, and there's a region. This is my default region, US East 2. So in this example, I'm gonna access the AWS resources using this profile. Yeah. The CS file that I mentioned, this one, function CS. So this is my function. Let's zoom it. Yeah. Function handler. And this is the input. And let me check the namespace and project name. Be careful that not use white spaces when you name your project. It will create a problem when you deploy your function into the AWS Lambda service. So I don't use any white spaces naming my project.
Yeah, because the AWS Lambda handler doesn't support the white spaces. So be careful with that.
So let's return the input. I like input. Let's build it.
That's a weird way to use string format.
If I don't use string format, yeah, it's a habit.
Yeah. Just write string format.
Yeah. Build again. It's for you, Fatih.
I follow the new trends, but I want to use the old.
Okay. And I think it's my function is ready to deploy. I'm gonna right click to my project and choose publish to AWS Lambda.
Yep.
Menu item. And my profile to use default region. I checked it, and
language runtime is 2.1.
Yeah, we use .NET Core 2.1, and we need to give a name to our function, and I'm gonna name it like it function. And next.
Because we are liking the whatever you're giving to us.
Yeah. And we need to choose AWS Lambda Full Access role name in this advanced function details screen. And using this role, we can access all Lambda features in this
inputs and outputs. Yeah.
Scenario, and then I choose upload. So the publish process is started, and it doesn't take long, maybe in 30 seconds. It will finish to publish, and we're gonna go to AWS console. First to see our Lambda function, and second create our API gateway resources. So let's wait.
Yes, our function is up and running.
Yeah. Let's try it. It's a JSON parameter, and I like
banana.
.NET Core. And invoke it. Yeah, the response is I like .NET Core. Good. And now let's open the AWS console in our web browser.
Oh, you're incognito?
No. Okay, let's open it in a regular one. Okay, navigate to Amazon AWS console.
You can just sign in because security issues.
Yeah, we should have a look at our Lambda function first. I choose services, compute, and Lambda. I should have one. Yeah, here it is. Our function, like it function, is here. And .NET Core 2.1. And I'm gonna jump into the API gateway now. You can find API gateway under networking and content delivery section. I click API gateway. And our demo's second step is started here creating an API. I click create API button, and we have 4 choices here, and new API, clone from existing API, and we said that you can use this choice to version your API, to add a new version.
Maybe poor man's version.
Yeah. And you can import from a Swagger, and this is just an example. So I choose new API, and let's call it like it API. And I leave empty in the description, and endpoint type regional, edge optimized, and private. And if we use regional, this API published in the current region. So in our subscription, this is Ohio. And if we use edge optimized, it is changing where the client access this endpoint. It's deployed to the CloudFront network, and it puts a traffic manager in front of the API gateway. So it allows the client access in the nearest region. And if we choose private, and this provides us clients access our APIs behind virtual private network without opening our APIs public. Yeah. So we choose regional, delete default, and create API. And we see resources, and in the actions button, I'm going to create a method for this API. And because now our APIs is empty, we should tell API gateway there is an action method in this like it API. So we now create these methods manually, but you can probably do it in your live examples. Maybe creating, importing Swagger definition. Yeah, it will be more easier. Convenient. Yeah. So I click create method, and I'm gonna choose post, and okay. So there is a post method now, and I should choose an integration type. So, okay, we have a we will have a post method in our liked API, but what is your backend service? So tell me what is your backend service for this post method, and you can use it HTTP if you have another public provided URL and maybe published in your local server or in another AWS service. If it is an AWS service, you can choose your region, service. For example, if your API is an EC2, you can choose it using this choice. So I'm gonna use it Lambda function in this demo, and this is the region is US East 2, and we should name the Lambda function. My function's name is LikeIt function, and this is the function that I published a few minutes ago. So LikeIt function is completed automatically. I choose it and save it. So this pop-up is asking me to add the necessary permission for the accessing this Lambda function using this ARN link, and I said okay. It's done. And our method is created. So we have now see this API call flow that we previously showed in the presentation in our slide. So the left one, this here is a client. In the middle, there is API gateway, and in the right side, it is my backend service. So now it is ready to publish and deploy our API. In the actions button, I choose deploy API. And here it comes stage. We said that you can use this stage as your development, test, production, beta, alpha, etc. Processes. You can manage all your processes here. And I'm going to create just one stage for the demo purposes. It's dev. And I then clicked and deploy. And now my dev stages is deployed, and I'm gonna access the API under the stages, under the dev stages. So in the left panel, I choose stages, and then under the dev, I choose post, and you can see the public URL, invoke URL of your API. So we finished API gateway creation process, and now we are ready to access our API from any client. In demo purposes, in the third step of our demo, I'm going to create a .NET Core console application to access this API and try to post a string and wait for the response. I like it.
I like X.
I like X. Okay, so we need to copy the invoke URL and return back our Visual Studio solution. And right-click to the solution, add new project, choose .NET Core console application, and LikeIt client. I'm gonna name it LikeIt client. And okay. In our console application, I just call this API and give the parameter. So in the demo purposes, I'm going to use it web client. we just a string to add parameter. So we can use to make a post request in the web client. We can use upload string for the simplicity. And upload string wants us the invoke URL, and the second one is the data that we pass to the API. We should use it. We should give it. Oops. Between the. Oops.
That doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Slash and
one more.
Yeah, that's it.
And let's.
The last few seconds is because API gateway passes the input as a parameter to AWS Lambda, and AWS Lambda only uses the JSON format values. If you pass just a string, it will say that it's not a JSON. Because of that, we are passing the value inside the quotes. So that's why.
Yeah. And let's write it down. On the console. And so it's our client application. Call our API deploy it in the API gateway, and give the parameter named PeakUp, and call it, return get the returned value variable, and write it down on the console. So let's make it set as startup project.
We should see I like PeakUp.
Yeah, we should see I like PeakUp. Let me execute.
Yep. We are waiting for the response. Yes.
Good job. I like PeakUp. So
I guess that's it.
Yeah, our demo is over. We're successfully, and let me open back to our slide. Yeah, we see how to create APIs under the API Gateway Platform Services in AWS today, and we configure it. We have a look, take a look. It's the benefits of the API Gateway, and we make a demo, create a Lambda function, and access this Lambda function as a backend service in the API Gateway. And the last step of the demo, we create a client that consumes this API Gateway as the middleware, and show it to the result. So thank you everyone for watching us. The next week we are gonna be with you with our 6th sessions of the CodeRunner series. See you.
See you then.